is Jordan, and today I'm going to be talking about 25 bookish facts about me. I don't want to make this intro long, I want to keep it as short as possible. The point of this video is to talk about 25 facts about, bookish facts about me. I think that's what I'm trying to say. I've seen a lot of people have done this in the past, like before I even, I've seen videos like this before I even started my channel, but I never got to this video until now, and it was hard to narrow down a lot of bookish facts about me, but let's get to all 25 facts about me. So I bought paperback books all my life until I graduated high school, and I started buying books on hardcover just because I was trying to save money, and of course paperbacks were a lot cheaper, so I bought a bunch of books on paperback before I got hardback books after I graduated high school. The Fault in Our Stars was the very first book that I've read the quickest by 3 days. I didn't start listening to audiobooks until I was in college. I tend to listen to music when I was doing homework, but the music got too distracting for me, and how else am I supposed to do homework while trying to catch up on reading, and audiobooks are good for that. I only reread any books while I'm traveling because I honestly don't think I would try to read something new on a road trip or something, just because I would feel too distracted by like my surroundings. So I tend to reread books that I love because it makes me feel better about reading books that I actually like versus the ones that I never read before. I'm always 50-50 when it comes to hardcovers or paperback copies of books. If I don't get books on hardcover, I tend to get them on paperback once it comes out, because like even if they would have a cover change, I would just get the paperback version, but if I didn't like the paperback version, I tend to get the hardcover, but I'm still 50-50. So far, I have 7 books of Peter Pan, and I need a lot more editions of Peter Pan because you guys know that I'm a big Peter Pan fan. I tend to buy most of my books online just because a lot of books tend to be cheaper when it's online versus in stores, so I didn't want to pay full price for getting them in store versus online when it's really cheaper. I started reading classics when I was in the 7th grade. I took an extra reading class in middle school in the 7th grade, and I tend to love it after reading all the classics that I've read. That's why I'm a big lover for reading the classics. I really can't eat or drink while I'm reading because I'm afraid of ruining the book, for one, and 2, I have to do one or the other. I can't do them both at the same time, and I'm really amazed when people eat or drink while they're reading, but I tend to drink coffee when I'm reading just to take a sip every time I turn a page or something. That's the only time I would do that, but most of the time I can't eat or drink while I'm reading. I haven't been doing this lately, but I usually listen to music while I'm reading just because, like, if it becomes a movie, I would be like, oh, this song reminds me of this scene from the book, or just, I mostly like listening to instrumental music while I'm reading, but most of the time I haven't been listening to music while I'm reading lately, but I still listen to music while I'm reading when I can. This wouldn't be a no-brainer fact about me. I tend to have books always on my birthday list just because I'm always asking for books that I rented from the library or something. I end up putting it on the list, and then I would be happy to get, but most of the time I get books that I haven't read yet on my wish list for my birthday and all the other holidays. I never lend out a book to anybody just because I'm afraid of, 1, that person would lose it, and 2, they would ruin it, and 3, I tend not to trust anybody with my books unless it's my mom, my grandma, and my sister, because I know they would know that they would take good care of my books versus someone who's like I don't lend books to friends just because I'm afraid of them ruining the book, but I do recommend books to them instead. My favorite thing about books is maps, and I love books when they have maps, but I don't tend to look at the maps to see where the characters are, just because for laziness, and I'm just like looking at maps. If there is going to be a map in a book, I would just look at the map versus look at the map while I'm reading a book on where I'm at, just because. This wouldn't be a surprise fact. You guys know that I used to be a Twilight fan, and my first book boyfriend was Jacob Black. I get most of my bookish stuff from Etsy. The website is just all homemade stuff, and what I love about the website, I bought a lot of bookmarks from there, and I probably would list the Etsy shops down below, but most likely I don't go back to the shop again just because I like that one bookmark, but I do love shopping bookish stuff on Etsy. I've read most of my required reading on Shmoop thanks to one of my teachers from high school who helped me with that because I was doing an assignment for an English class sophomore year. I forgot what we were doing. It was a Shakespeare play though, and he introduced me to that website, and I couldn't thank him enough for recommending that website for me to use for my required reading. There's one fact that you guys probably know already, but if you're new to this channel, you didn't know that I didn't start reading the Harry Potter books until I was 12 years old, so that I know I was around the same age as Harry Potter himself, so that is like appropriate for me to start reading Harry Potter. But some people have read Harry Potter like earlier than that, and I was embarrassed for not able to read the Harry Potter books until I was 12. Another fact about me is I used to use receipts as bookmarks. I tend to not use bookmarks when I was younger, so I tend to use receipts like from the library, and I use them as bookmarks most of the time. But when I buy books, I don't use receipts as bookmarks. My favorite bookstore is Half Price Books, just because the experience every time I go there is very different, especially when there's something that you probably think you wouldn't be able to find at Barnes & Noble. That's a good place to go. I don't know where else, what other states have Half Price Books other than Illinois, but it is one of my favorite bookstores. Or it is my favorite bookstore. The only writer that I've ever met is Nicholas Sparks, and I haven't told you guys that, but I did meet Nicholas Sparks, and it was an amazing experience being a writer for the first time, and I can't wait to meet more writers that I really admire. I mostly do my reading in the middle of the day or at night. I can't tend to read in the morning just because I'm afraid of falling back to sleep as I'm reading, so my reading time is mostly during the day or at bedtime. Sometimes I give myself a day off from reading just because, if I'm it took me a month to read a book, I don't tend to get a reading slump after that. Sometimes I just need a day off from reading, and that's kind of helps me a lot. If I just don't feel like reading, I would just take a day off, and then the next day I'd end up reading say 50 to 100 pages, and then I feel better about reading because I know as a booktuber reading is a chore for everybody, but they have to do what is best for them, and that's just for me. I used to go to a library a lot as a kid before I own a lot of books that I have, but I've been going to the library less just because I tend to go to the bookstore more than the library. But when I was younger, I used to go to the bookstore before buying my own books, just because it's just so I actually know that I liked the book and I end up buying it after renting a book from the library. I don't know how many of you would know about this, but I can't read when I'm sick, because if I'm so ill, I get headaches when I try to read physically, but I can't listen to an audiobook either, and that also makes me not want to read when I'm sick. So that's kind of the part where I give myself a day off for reading, but I just can't read when I'm sick just because I'm afraid of throwing a vomit on my book and then I want to buy myself a new copy, or it's just I don't know how to explain this. I really can't read when I'm sick, just for the sake of me wanting to get better, and reading would have to be on the back burner until I'm well enough to pick up a book again. And the last but not least, the 25th bookish fact about me is the first book series that I ever loved was the Magic Treehouse series. So that's all for all 25 bookish facts about me. I know there's probably more than that, but this is all the facts I can narrow it down to. But anyways, if you enjoyed this video, give us a thumbs up and comment down below one bookish fact about you. I would like to know, and if you share some of the same facts as me, that's great. And if you have a different fact about your bookish fact about yourself, also let me know in the comments down below. And if you want to follow me on social media, I have Facebook under Lost Reader, and I have Twitter and Instagram on LostReader19. I also have Goodreads, which I'll link down below. Don't forget to hit subscribe if you don't want to miss any bookish contact from me. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!